We've got some drama in Georgia. That's what we're talking about today, the state of Georgia, and some drama that's unfolded here recently. So to add some context, I'm going to welcome Representative Charlice Byrd. Representative Byrd, how are you tonight?
I am wonderful. Thank you very much for asking.
Well,
Excited to be
for
here with you.
good. I'm excited you're here because I just caught wind of this story recently. We've been trying to do this video for a couple weeks now, and it's interesting. I wish I could say your story that you're about to share is very unique to Georgia. However, I can assure you it is not. At least maybe the finite details are unique. But why don't you just tell us the story of what has unfolded here over these last couple weeks or months?
Absolutely. Wanted to tell you about an organization that is called the American Conservative Action Fund Group in Georgia.
Sounds like
And
a great
as
group,
Yeah, sounds like a conservative organization, right? Which is
correct?
right where I would want to be, since I choose to be the most conservative person on the House floor in the state of Georgia. But that name was started digging, and it happened to turn out to be sports gambling. It is dual fans. It's Sports Kings. All of those organizations that want to bring sports gambling into the state of Georgia.
So what is your beef with with gambling in Georgia? Like what do you see as the potential issues here?
Well, of course, everything in anything, that's particularly Georgia, because that's where I am, everything is about power, money, and ego. And certainly all of my legislative friends thinks it's great to continue to have all sorts of revenue from everywhere imaginable so that we can use your tax dollars to spend. So when the election of this past May for primary, I had an opponent, and the I opposed a bill this session, which was a sports betting bill, and it was to be a constitutional amendment to be placed on our ballot. I
Mhm.
am, number one, against sports gambling because it ruins lives, it ruins families, and it ruins communities for sure. But those persons wanted to put money away after giving up, we're getting all this revenue from the sports betting people, away X amount of dollars so that anyone who is addicted to gambling could go and use those dollars to take care of their addiction.
So in the bill, I just want to make sure I get this straight. So when was this vote roughly?
It was this, but sometime in April that we
April.
took this vote,
Okay.
excuse me, in March when during
March.
session.
So
Yes.
so the bill comes in before you in March. You read the bill. Do you read the bills?
I read every single bill that is on my desk
How
because I
unique.
want to know exactly what's in there, whereas all of my colleagues fail to do that. So
That was
when
my
they ask
experience.
me why I vote for no on a bill, especially their really good bill, according to them and the author, I said, these are the issues that you have in your bill. And they go, well, no, that's not true. And I go, here's the codes. Here's all my explanation of why I should vote no against your bill. Have you read your own bill? Well, they get a little bit on the stumbling side.
Oh, I bet. I bet they do. And that was my experience. And if you're watching this, I think people instinctively know or at least believe and definitely question, do these people even read the bills? And I'm certain in Washington, D.C., when they've got 5,000 page bills, no way on God's green earth that the Congress critters are actually reading these bills, or at least the majority of these Congress critters. But even at the state legislature, it's the same darn thing where these people get their bills written and they don't even read these things. They just sell it with little talking points and bullet points and try to kind of hoodwink people into going, oh, yeah, well, that all sounds good to me. We saw that in Minnesota where even the Republicans in control of the House voted to fund a bunch of DEI programs in the schools. And we actually called them out for it. And they admitted, oh, geez, we didn't actually read the bill and what we were funding. So this is like not a unique thing, but good kudos to you for actually reading the bill, which, shouldn't be like some huge thing that you've accomplished for reading legislation. But so the bill comes in front of you, you read the bill, and you read in there, okay, this is going to be new tax revenue for the state of Georgia, and politicians love new tax revenue. despite often campaigning on reducing tax revenues, but we'll park that aside. And then you noticed, well, half of the funding that this generates is going to go towards the addiction that this bill will create. Is that right?
That is correct. A whole bunch of that money was going to be placed aside so that anyone who becomes addicted to sports gambling would have the ability to go through rehab at our expense. So, I mean, I cannot fathom why we would want to have some horrible thing for 16 and 30-year-olds. That is the age group that is being captured right now for sports betting. You think a 16-year-old, I mean, they have a whole life ahead of them, and now they are being, let's see, excited by the opportunity to do sports betting, and it gets out of hand, and all of a sudden they are wasting away their parents' money, wherever they're getting their money. I mean,
Yeah.
this is just not a good thing for our communities.
Yeah, and look, whether you're watching this and you're like, I love the idea of sports betting. It has gotten huge. There's no doubt. I have friends who are constantly little things, little dollar here, dollar there, and just kind of having fun with it. But what I think is striking here is this is a great example of government coming in and saying, we're going to do this thing, and then it's going to create this problem, and they acknowledge it because it's in the darn bill. So we're going to create this problem, and then we're also going to fund the solution to the problem. I mean, what is your response to that?
It's ludicrous. I mean, I think I am from Louisiana. I go home on occasion and I see all these billboards that say, call for your addiction for gambling in the state of Louisiana so that you can be taken care of.
Yeah.
Listen, if I knew for sure that the state of Georgia was not going to have to take care of your child's addiction or your husband or wife or whomever,
Mhm.
hey, have at it. But that's not how it is anymore.
Yeah.
Government is there. They open the doors. They want to take care of everything. And that's where we are in our country
Right.
because everybody wants something from government.
Isn't it true? And it's so sad. I like it really makes me sad. Like I believe in my fellow man. I really do. I trust if they have to make decisions, they'll make the right decisions. Maybe some of that trust is misplaced, but the amount of the way in which we socialize the risk of all sorts of things. So here we're socializing the risk of legalizing sports betting in Georgia and how the state's going to swoop in and provide the answer. And we see it all over the place in all sorts of sectors where the government assumes this risk, of course, on behalf of the taxpayer. And of course, we don't even have to go down the path of $40 trillion in debt at the federal level, where we have assumed all of this risk, this huge economic risk at the federal level. But it also reminds me of ESPN. And I start off every morning. I turn on ESPN. I want to see what's going on in the sports world because I get my fill of the political world with what I do. And I remember you cannot turn on ESPN without seeing commercials for DraftKings or all these sorts of gambling sites. And then I remember about a year ago they reported breaking news. I think it was Chauncey Billups, NBA coach, former player, has been arrested for sports betting. And it's like they're trying to get both sides. They're promoting sports betting and then they're reporting on kind of the evils of sports betting and how people are getting arrested for it. It seems like total nonsense to me.
Well, as long as you're living within those little confines of whatever sports betting is. And then, of course, if you go outside those lines, then they want to arrest you and put you away for the rest of your life, or big fines, of course. And
Yep.
of course, we know that a coach surely shouldn't be gambling on for or against their team,
For
or
sure. Yeah.
anyone else for that matter.
Yeah, I'm not defending it. Don't get me wrong. I
No,
just see
no.
the irony in advertising everywhere you look now for sports betting, and then the same broadcast network saying, "Go gamble, gamble, gamble." Oh, but this guy got arrested for gambling. It's just like this weird, twisted thing, and I don't think that government should be benefiting for these sorts of vices. Like, frankly, I don't have much of an issue with legalized gambling, but I don't think the government should benefit from it. And I don't think the government should be paying, the taxpayers should be paying for people's addictions. Like in a free society, you are free to succeed, but you're also free to fail. And I feel like that's where our country has lost its way is you are no longer free to fail, that this government will swoop in with a taxpayer money and they will bail people out.
Which is exactly what they're doing. I mean, just think about legalizing drugs in some of
Yep.
the states across the United States now. All those people that have moved to those states so they can have their drugs,
Mhm.
whatever flavor they want. But yet now those states are having to take care of those individuals that are homeless. They have no money, there's no food, so they have to find a place for them and then go and put them in an addiction place to possibly go through rehab. So,
Yep.
yes, it is all laid on our shoulder. If an individual wants to do it, and you know for sure a family is going to take care of their child
Mhm.
that is addicted to sports betting, have at it. But
Yep.
we know that's not the case anymore in government.
Yeah, and you know, you can almost phrase that like it's like the government doesn't like it. When you say the government has to swoop in and they've got to save the day, I think the state, if we just kind of look at, you know, the state is just this, in my opinion, kind of an evil entity largely. They love that. They love fixing these problems. But of course, it's the taxpayers that I'm sympathetic to, is that they shouldn't be on the hook for this sort of financial spend. But the government loves to be the savior, so they can come in and say, look at these programs that we have provided you. We are doing rehab services. Vote for us. Vote
That's
us
right.
back in office because we're doing all of these wonderful things for you lowly taxpayers, when the taxpayers should be outraged.
And they, I mean, we should, but not enough people are outraged because we are now convincing more and more people that government is the answer. Doesn't
Yep.
matter for the sports betting. And what the whole sports betting thing is to me is interesting. It's used to be actually sports betting, football, baseball, that sort of thing. But now we're talking about an election. So I'm going to do a sport. I'm going to bet against Bird against her opponent or you and your opponent. I mean, these are the types of things that people are now gambling on. So it's everything,
It
not
is.
just sports.
It is quite
But
literally everything. I remember seeing a commercial from some site that could literally let you bet on anything, any scenario. You know, how many toes is the next child that's born going to have? Will they have 10? Will they have 11? Place a bet here. It's nuts.
it has gone insane.
Yeah.
And certainly sports betting is not what we need in the state of Georgia. I mean, it is proven across those states that have already legalized it. And if that's people really want to get on their cell phones and do betting, let's just take it to out of the state and go and do it anyway. I mean, it's no big deal. So people are doing that now for their betting. They don't have to be actually legalized in Georgia for them to have the ability to do that.
Yeah, no, this is true on all those apps, and maybe some of these apps they like verify where you live or something. But I'd imagine you could sneak around that pretty easily with VPNs and whatnot. But you mentioned so you got challenged in a primary, and it sounds like you came out victorious in this recent primary. What was the origins of this primary? And it sounds like this particular vote is led into you getting a primary challenger.
It led into my primary. One of actually a couple of my colleagues, one named Representative Brad Thomas, who also is in my delegation in my own community, recruited, what he says is that he encouraged my opponent inside to run against me. And they started picking me to death about my no votes. And one of them was sports betting. It was my understanding that he was well connected to the PAC for sports betting and pretty much recruited them to take care of me and all of the money that they dumped into me. So
Yeah.
put it in this perspective that they came in with approximately $11 million for 34 candidates. Now you had the majority of candidates that were for sure going to win their election anyway, but they put money into their election against their opponent. The majority of them won, I think, by 70-30. But
Hmm.
I was one of a handful that opposed the constitutional amendment. So they went hard, hard after me. Approximately, if you divide that into 34, it's about over $300,000.
Wow.
But I believe it even hit I'm guessing close, it could have even been 1 million. I was on Fox News, horrible ads. I was on Roku, all the streaming. And then they took these mailers and mailed them. And I think I'm sitting here on 11 of these mailers against me and talking about I'm a bad person because I vote no against a lot of bills that are bad. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues, I went to a hearing, I was actually on the committee, and it was in the Economic Development Committee, and she presented a bill so that anyone, well, hotels and motels, would have to go through training before FIFA started, the soccer
Oh,
matches that came to the
okay.
state of Georgia.
Yeah.
Well, number one, hotels and motels probably do this already. But then she was going to, the bill was mandating VRBOs, um, Airbnbs, if you owned a rental property, campground owners were all going to have to be mandated to take this training.
Hmm.
So then I started asking questions, and no one was asking questions about this bill. I'm sitting there listening, and I'm starting to ask questions. I go, wait, so an Airbnb owner like myself would have to go and take this training. Is that correct? That is correct. Okay, so number one, who is going to make sure that I go to the training? If I don't do the training, am I going to be fined? Am I going to be picked up
Mhm.
and taken to jail? And so for 1 week, if I have a guest in my Airbnb, do I have to train them, and then I have to go and train the next one and the next one? So
Interesting. So, and these are Republicans, I'm assuming.
well, this was a Democrat who brought the bill, but the
Okay.
majority of the committee is Republican, and they were all,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
do it.
The Republicans that campaign on, we're getting government out of your lives. We're going to cut all the red tape. We're going to, maximize freedom in Georgia are now saying, nope, if you own one rental property, you need to get trained. If you have a hotel staff, you've got to get trained. There's probably thousands and thousands of hotels across the state. So they're creating more regulations and more burdens in the private market. But so they held that against you.
They
And
did.
this Brad guy, is he, I'm assuming, a Republican?
Yes, he is a
Oh,
so-called
interesting.
Republican.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I got you. I got you.
Yes.
Um,
So, and then
so
one of the reasons why they decided to primary me, not only because of my
yeah,
no votes, but because personality, that I cannot get along with anyone in the legislature. So I did not know that I was elected by my District 20, to go to the Capitol, to go along, to get along.
yeah.
I thought I was supposed to be an independent thinker, read my bills, reasons why I should vote no against a bill, but yet they want to tell me that I am too difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I've heard. This sounds very familiar to me. I'll spare you my story, but I'm very familiar with that. And it's so interesting because these same people, I bet this Brad, I can't remember what his last name is, but I'm sure he preaches unity, and I'm sure he
Oh,
preaches
yes, it is.
we're a team. We're on a team here, Charlize. What don't you understand? But then the team, ended up recruiting primary challengers against you. And these people that preach unity, but then are anything but, especially when they betray their own campaign promises. While it sounds like you're holding yours, I find it utterly disgusting. And it's so fake. It's so phony, these calls for unity.
It absolutely, because it is a joke in my eyes, because now the door has opened, because even leadership was all part of this. They played the background for both sides. I did not even receive one phone call from leadership to congratulate me on my
Oh,
win, because they are so upset that I beat this opponent. I mean,
I
it
love
was
it.
amazing. So we are in special session right now, and not a whole lot of people are talking to me because they are so upset that I am back sitting in my seat. So all I can do is go around doing the L, loser, loser. So,
Oh, I love it. I mean, good for you for having the wherewithal to withstand these attacks. It's so reminiscent of my time in the Minnesota House when I'm sure they label you all the typical things, that you're not a team player. that you are ineffective. And, their definition of effective is fascinating to me. Apparently, being an effective legislator is increasing red tape, increasing regulations. I'm sure increasing taxes. This would have been a new tax. Effective means growing the budget. Pretty much their definition of effective means the opposite of everything they just campaigned on. Is that the case in Georgia too?
That is the case in Georgia. No, I before, well, once I read a bill, I make the decision of how I'm going to vote on that bill by
Mhm.
four principles.
Yeah,
Does it grow government? Does it increase taxes? Does it infringe on personal liberties? And does it increase regulation? Now,
yeah,
if it doesn't fit into those categories, I'm voting no against it, and especially if it grows government.
yeah.
And the big question I ask myself all the time, is it the proper role of
Yes.
government? The
Thank you.
majority of things we do at the Capitol or is not the proper role of government. And if anyone really wanted to challenge whatever becomes law, most of it's probably unconstitutional anyway.
Yeah.
But
So
yet,
it
because
begs,
two people or the people on the floor, they want their bill passed, so they make sure that they vote for their bill so that when their next bill, the other person's bad bill comes to the floor, they want to be sure that they get it passed. and
it's true.
and every one of these bills always have unintended consequences, and you have to go back to the legislature to fix it.
Yeah, it's so true. It's this giant like back slapping club of, hey, you help me pass my terrible bill, I'll help you pass your terrible bill. And what I think
Yep.
people need to understand is that this is all done in secrecy. Like here you have a current state House representative in Representative Byrd. I served in the Minnesota House, and I'm telling you, and I'm assuming you're going to agree with this, is this happens behind closed doors where people, the public generally aren't. It's going to be in the halls of the Capitol, which sure, there could be some people from the public there. And then there's like this unwritten rule. And I'm curious if you see this. It feels like there's this unwritten rule when you serve in a legislature that, hey, as long as you help me hide my bad political behavior from my constituents, I will help you hide your bad political behavior from your constituents.
That is exactly the case. And I'm standing there and saying, I know why I voted no on my bills. It's a lot easier for me to justify my no vote. The question should now be is why are they voting yes on
And
all of
that
this bad stuff?
And that, Charlize, is exactly the problem that they can't stand. I mean, it has to be this homogenous body, and we all have to go together. And if anybody dares to vote differently from the majority of their caucus, there is no tolerance for dissent because it creates that question for people to say, well, wait a minute, Representative whoever, you voted yes for this bill, but Representative Byrd voted no. And I know why she voted no. Why did you vote yes? And they hate that contrast. If you can draw contrast in your legislature by just honoring your constitutional oath, it drives these people absolutely mad. There's many, many votes where I was the only no vote, but yet my desk mate, Dwayne Quam, he would lean over and say, hey, this is a good bill. This is just some good stuff for the people. And I'd say, dude, I read the bill. It grows government. I'm an obvious no. Leave me alone. Always trying to influence your behavior on the floor. Do your desk mates do something similar? Or hopefully you have some allies?
They do. I mean, there's a couple of people in leadership. When I vote against a bill, they'll come over and go, "Why would you vote against that bill? It's so and so's bill." I'm going, "Oh my gosh, you're now telling me how I should vote my conscience and my district." And obviously, my district knows how I vote. They are appreciative of how I vote, but yes, they want to tear me down because I vote no. Certainly, at the legislature, I vote no probably 60% of the time.
Yep.
And again, I can justify my no vote. I mean,
Yep.
I can give them all my little reasons why I have written down for voting no, but it just makes them crazy because once again, we're called family, and
Uh-oh.
family should all be together. And you can't run out on your own on family.
Isn't it? It's so okay. Let me throw this at you. I haven't thrown this at many people, but I was thinking about this the other day because I've heard this that they refer to themselves as family. And of course, you can think about that in two ways, kind of your traditional, kind of nuclear family. What
Sure.
I think about though, and I wonder if you see this, is I think of mob families. That's what I think of. Is you have, we've got this is our family. I'm going to give him an offer he can't refuse. Like that's what I think of when I hear them refer to themselves as family, and then they have no room for that dissent because if you dare go against the family, well, then they've got to get rid of you. And it sounds like that's exactly what they tried to do to you.
That's exactly what they did. It makes me, you talking about that just brings to mind The Godfather.
Yep.
Whoever went against The Godfather, boy, you were going to pay the price, and it was going to be a heavy price. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely right. My mother had told me many years ago, she said, God gives you your family, and thank God you get to choose your friends.
Hmm.
So, I mean, listen, being elected, they have given me that family that I have to sit in on caucus in my House caucus, but yet I can go and choose the few people that I actually believe in and they believe in what I do. And it's so funny because I have become very good friends with a lot of Democrats.
Hmm.
And they tell me all the time, they said, I know you're going to vote no. I would never vote with them in the first place. We think totally different, but
Yeah.
they have respect for me because of my stand on an issue that I so believe in. And my own family doesn't understand where I stand on those issues, and they can't accept anyone going against the family.
Nope, there's no tolerance for it whatsoever, and to a degree, like if you were to occasionally vote differently from the rest of your family, but you didn't do things like this of calling out, your legislative colleague Brad, or you didn't like inflict some sort of political pressure throughout the process, they probably just leave you alone. If I go back to the mafia kind of anecdote here or analogy, it's if you're, and I've never been in the mafia. I guess I'm
Yeah.
speculating here, but if you've got your crime family and you've got your cousin going out and hawking some used TVs or something, but it didn't really wasn't presented as much of a threat to like the head of the family. They'll tolerate some of these little side gigs if you occasionally vote no, but if you're vocal about it and you're, talking to big audiences and you're building a platform and you're telling people the truth of what's happening in the Capitol and why you're voting the way you are and calling out your colleagues, instantly you become a political threat to your, so-called family. And that's where they have no tolerance. That's a line once you cross that they will not stand for it. I don't know if you have comments on that, but there's a little bit of tolerance as long as you do stuff quietly, you do it big and you do it loud. No room for they won't tolerate that at all.
No, they don't. But when I come out of the Capitol and I have voted no for a bill, I certainly put it on Facebook. I explain to everyone why I have voted no, for sure. And starting to go and ask your legislator why they're voting yes.
I love
And I
that.
mean, that is really driving them crazy, like we talked earlier. And it's only going to get, I'm going to be much more vocal about it. I try not to use people's names because that really gets under their skin even bigger.
Oh yeah.
But we are going for the full juggler now because uh, people that have made the decision to give monies to my opponent, to knock doors, to do mailers against me, that's become an issue. They have opened that door, and so there
Ooh.
is no going back to shutting it.
Oh my gosh, you're getting me all fired up. I love that because that's how you change the power dynamic in a capital. Because these people thrive in the shadows. They thrive in the darkness. They thrive with the secrets. They don't want the people that they're supposed to represent to actually know what they're doing. And it takes someone with a lot of political courage, a titanium spine such as yourself, to be able to say, you know what? I know how politically unpopular this will make me inside the Capitol, but to the people in my state, the people that actually matter, not the politicians in the Capitol building, they deserve the truth. And I encourage you to keep giving that transparency to the people so that there is an informed electorate. That's how you start to change that power dynamic in the Capitol. It's like the only way it can be done. If they thrive in the shadows, you pull out the spotlight and you shine a spotlight on them.
Amen to that. I mean, a colleague was talking today about our budget. And I said, oh my, he said, why do you keep voting against the budget? It doesn't do anything. I said, why do you keep voting for it when you know they have all of this crap in the budget that we should not be funding on a yearly basis, but yet you keep voting on it. I said, if everyone in this room would start voting no, we would have real change. But
Yep.
until that happens, we will continue to rise.
Yep.
The budget, in any state continues to
Yep.
rise because we continue to fund any and everything, going back to sports betting, taking care of a person who is now addicted. It is
Yep.
up to the state to take care of that person. So now we got to allocate those dollars over here, which we'd have never had to allocate before. But
Yeah.
let's do it because, oh my gosh, we're about feelings and compassion. We're about loving everybody. Well, yes, I am a Jesus follower, but Jesus tells you in the Bible, you better take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Well, talk to the people of Georgia. So if folks are in Georgia, they're watching this, and maybe some of their eyes are getting open to go, wait a minute, this is how stuff actually happens. Like, what can the people in Georgia do about it?
well, I tell you that in Georgia, about 6 years ago, we started working really hard for grassroots.
Hmm.
And we came in and found people that were willing to take on grassroots so that if I call ABC person, she then gets onto the phone and calls her grassroots person. So the
Nice.
words are spreading bigger and bigger in the state of Georgia for grassroots. Now, are we talking millions? I have no idea. But I
Hmm.
do know when we take action and we say we need someone to start making phone calls to call your legislator to vote
Yes.
no against that bill, they are on the phone and they are being flooded with phone calls and people coming down to the Capitol to ask them to vote against a bill. So that's
Yes.
how we've activated, but we need to continue to grow grassroots. Listen, I understand that people hate politics, but
Yep.
everything in the world is political. Your
Yep.
church is, your school is, your sports. If your children play sports, it's political. But this political is making a change of how we live every single day.
Hmm.
And the more people sit on the sideline, the more government is going to take over, swoop in, and take over our communities. And it is not a good thing. Get
Yep.
involved by making phone calls to your state legislator. Come and visit. I will gladly give you Government 101 at its finest if we can get enough people that would want to come and join us to do that. I'll even give you my website so you can go and look and put out there, are you willing to teach me how to get involved in the political process? Because folks, if we do not get involved, it's being taken away from us faster than you can ever imagine.
Totally agree. Like, I don't care if you've never been political, and there's plenty of people out there that are just like, you know what, I don't do politics. And I kind of blame some of that on this mindset that, well, we can't talk about politics or religion. I think that has been a gigantic mistake, and people ought to be talking about politics and religion. But even if you are thinking, I don't care about politics, or you're thinking, I'm sick and tired of politics and I just don't care anymore, you cannot care about politics, but politics cares about you. So you can try to ignore it all you want, but you are affected by it. And so getting active, getting involved, reach out to Representative Byrd here, reach out to me. We'll do training classes. If you are sitting there thinking, yeah, but what does it matter? And why should I even try? These people don't listen to me. Look, if you're tired of being politically disrespected and you want to be more politically effective with real effectiveness, not what the politicians tell you to do, outside of Representative Byrd here, she's onto it. Like, you got to hound your legislators. These people make political decisions. There are tools you can use. We do trainings all across the country. Just this year, I've done trainings in Minnesota, Alaska, Montana, Wyoming, like in Missouri, we've done trainings, Iowa, we've done trainings. We will travel to wherever there's a demand for people to be more politically effective with their activism. There's no excuse. If you want to be more effective, there are resources scattered all over the place, myself and Representative Byrd included. So I'll end with this, as I always try to do, because it's a perfect time. If you're sick and tired of being politically disrespected, if you're sick and tired of being politically ignored, if you want to be politically respected, you must be politically feared.